Okay. Absolute value inequalities. What is always the first step of solving any of these things? Isolate, right? Isolate. So you have an absolute value here. I mean, it's the same thing with radical. There's a lot of kinds of functions we did. The first thing we did, exponentials, logarithms, isolate. Right? What do I have to do to isolate this absolute value? Add 8 to both sides, right? So that'll be 3/4 x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, now this one is an absolute value greater than. Before we solve it, is there any of these you could throw out because they're just not the right shape? G, you could definitely throw out the G. H is a tricky one because technically, yeah, we usually we're going to throw it out. You expect when you get absolute value greater than that it looks like either F or J, that it's open in the middle, the ends are covered. But actually, that wouldn't be quite true if, for example, we had a minus here. Then aren't absolute values always greater than negative numbers? I mean, they turn everything positive. So what would be the solution to this? All real numbers. That's what this is. The whole number line is covered. So that is actually, could be the result of an absolute value greater than. But that is not the problem we have here. How do we usually break down an absolute value greater than? You're going to write it 2 inequalities. Erica? Well, before you start throwing the -3 in, let's just do the first one, right? 3/4 x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 3. And it's just that without the absolute value. What's the other one? 3/4 x minus 3 is less than or equal to -3. Okay, then now there's no more absolute value. So just solve for x, add 3. 3/4 x is greater than or equal to 6. 3/4 x is less than or equal to 0, which means x is less than or equal to 0. At that point, you could pick out which one is right. It's going to be J. This one, how do you solve for x? It's being multiplied by 3/4. How do you solve for the x? You could divide by 3/4, or you can multiply by 4/3, right? Which gives you x is greater than or equal to 8. And that is an or. It's either the x value has to be less than or equal to 0, or it has to be greater than or equal to 0. It can't be both, right? It can never be in both of those areas at the same time.